Hello, everyone. My name is Ashley. Welcome to one of our summer learning series webinars. This is all around the new feature in CourtReserve called player matchmaking. We know that you guys have been waiting a long time for this, and it is finally here. So today, Tim is going to actually be with us on our webinar today. We have developed this based on some of the things and some of your feedback, and we are excited to get to show you what this is going to look like when it is released on July 19th. So this is going to be recorded. It will be shared on the CourtReserve YouTube channel. And just know that if you subscribe to the CourtReserve YouTube channel, anytime we upload new webinars or new videos about product features, then you will be notified. And we also have Bethany today, who's going to be helping me in the Q&A part. So if you have any questions, feel free to put those in the Q&A. Now, there's a chat box and there's a Q&A box. What we have realized is that if you actually put your questions in the Q&A and we run out of time or we'd like to go back and review those questions, we can pull that information. So please put those in the Q&A. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started, and we welcome Tim today.
Thank you, Ashley, and thank you all. Looks like we got a good group, an excited group, and you'll probably sense some excitement in my voice because I am super excited to show this off. I'm super excited to get this out to you guys in just a couple weeks. We've worked really hard on this feature. If you look at the idea board, it continuously got upvoted. It's just something that we're super excited about, and I can't wait to show it to you. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And I want to confirm that we're good. Okay, good. That always scares me. So I haven't been doing these a lot lately because I have awesome team members on our team now that have taken over this role. So I'm going to do the best I can to get through this and show you and answer any questions you have. But before I get started, I really wanted to just take a few minutes to explain some benefits for this feature. So I've identified really three. I'm sure there's more, but the three that really stand out to me with this concept of matchmaking players is that it solves three main problems. The first one is it really allows players to find other players within your club, your organization that match a certain set of criteria, whether that's age, gender, rating, etc. It also allows new people, like new members that are coming to your club, or brand new people that are in your organization that may not know a lot of people. It allows them to sort of find matches that are open. You'll hear me say that term because it'll make sense to you in a minute, but open reservations that they can join to meet new people. And then finally, it really solves the problem that a lot of organizations and a lot of our customers have, where they have a minimum number of players that they want to be on the court to solidify that reservation. And a player booking a court may not know at the time of booking who those players may be. So this still allows within a certain time frame, obviously, players to post this match and let other people join. So it really solves those three. And again, I think there's other benefits that you probably realize that you'll get when you turn this on. But those are the three that I sort of really identified. So I'm going to start. And again, this is a demo, so don't think I'm going to cover this information. This is all going to be documented. That we're going to do multiple videos of this. This webinar will be recorded. So you'll be able to come back and review that information when we do the formal release of this feature. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over here to settings and show you a little bit around the setup side. Now, this is an add-on, but we decided that we wanted to give you this add-on for free. So those that want to turn it on and set it up, you will still go in the add-on section originally to turn it on, but there's no cost. So once you turn it on, you're going to see a new bubble here called Player Matchmaker. I'm going to click on that now, and I'm going to show you some of the setup options that you're going to have, and you're going to be able to turn on to sort of control this whole feature. you're probably going to see some new things here that we're going to start implementing around a little bit of user experience changes to make it easier when you set up bigger features. We're going to try to give you more help text and tell you what things are going to do and what the levers and buttons are going to do when you click on them. So right here, the first thing that you're going to get to do as an administrator is you're going to get to set up what makes up the criteria that you're going to allow your players to choose from. So if I walk through some of these, the first thing you're going to get to do is you're going to get to determine which reservation types do you want open matchmaking options to be turned on for. So in here, in my example, you can see that I've turned this on for doubles and I've turned this on for singles. So only when a player chooses one of those two reservation types will they have the option to make this an open reservation, okay? The next one is the ability to restrict player matchmaking to specific court types and specific courts. So if you wanted to sort of take the crawl, walk, run approach with player matchmaker to see how it's going, and you don't want to flood your court sheet with open reservations, a good suggestion here would be maybe to designate 1 or 2 courts for matchmaking. So that way you're not opening up all your courts with open reservations. And there's going to be a way to control the quantity of open reservations. I'm going to get to that in a minute. But this is a good way to start slow and work your way and get feedback from the players that you can then give to us. And it's a way to control it. We also gave you the ability to control it by court type. So for those organizations on the call today that just want to do this for a specific set of courts, like if you just want to turn this on for your pickleball courts, but leave your tennis courts the way they are, then you can just select the court type and do it that way. I'm not going to restrict my court type for the demo purposes. I just wanted to highlight the feature. Now we're going to move into gender restriction. And what gender restriction is going to do is it's just going to allow the player that's booking the court to specify if they do have a gender restriction, if they just want this to be a ladies group or a men's group. And then they also have the option to not restrict gender at all. Now, they don't even get that option if you don't choose this. So just be mindful of that. So, and also if your organization is not allowing players to choose their gender, you want to definitely cut this off. Otherwise, for players that don't have a gender set, they're going to automatically be ineligible for that match. Okay. Age restriction, if you turn that on, that's going to allow your players to determine what age group or age range they want the match to be eligible for. So some folks, don't want to play with the young guys, or, so they may say, hey, this is for, 45 and up. So this is a way for people to target a particular age group when setting up an open reservation. The next one is a really cool feature that we will probably expand on in future iterations when we start bringing in some more, when we start developing and integrating with other rating systems that are out there for both tennis and pickleball and other racket sports also. But this will also look right now at your internal rating categories. So what you're going to want to do here is you want to choose the rating categories that you want eligible for matchmaking. So if you want people to be able to say, hey, I only want to play with other 4-0s or other 4-5s, then you'll want to turn the rating category specification on here so that users can actually choose the available ratings they want people to adhere to. Okay. Allow member group restrictions. So this is a great way if you guys are using member groups and you want a player to say, hey, I just want to specify members that are in a specific group to be able to qualify. You'll want to turn on the group restrictions here, and then all of your groups that you currently have and have set up, those will be available for you to turn on, and then people will be able to match people specifically to a specific group. Allow private matches. So I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with some of the competitors that are doing matchmaking, but one of the things they always have is this ability to create a private group. So what this does, and this is going to be turned on or off by you to even allow it, but if you do turn it on, then when a player creates a match, he can mark it as private. And you'll see that when I demo the actual booking of a match in a minute. But if they turn it on, then they have to specify a 4-digit code. And that's just a numerical code that everybody in their group will have. So when they go to join a match, if they don't know the code or put the code in correctly, they will be prohibited from joining that match. And the neat thing about these is when you see these on the scheduler and you see these in the open reservation list, they'll have a little lock icon. So people will know, hey, this is a private lockdown match, to know that, hey, I might not be able to join this one if I don't have the code. Okay. So a couple more here, max open reservations per day. So this is sort of that, what I alluded to earlier about trying to not allow your court sheet to be flooded with these matches, right? So this is something that you can set that is absolutely independent of your other settings or your normal reservation settings. So let's say you have this set to 4. That means across your entire organization at the day level, no more than 4 open matches can be created at one time. If you want to open this up to allow an infinite amount of open reservations, then you're not going to want to specify a number here. Okay. Same with this setting. So we wanted to give you the ability to allow people to change their open reservation, even if you guys don't allow editing of a booked reservation. So let me be clear on that. This is an independent change of your booking setting. So even if you have the setting changed, or the setting set, I should say, on your booking settings to say, hey, we don't want anybody changing anything on this reservation, but you have this one checked. This will allow open reservations before finalization, meaning when I say finalization, I mean when all players, when that match gets finalized because all players are met, then you'll be able to still edit it as long as the reservation is considered open. Okay, I'm sure there'll be some questions coming in on that I'll get to. I'm going to try to get through all of this, and then we'll cover all the questions. Include an open reservation menu option in the member portal. This is simply a way to basically show your open reservations list in the portal. So if I was to show you what I mean here, so you can see here in the reservations list, I have open reservations underneath the reservations menu. And that's because when I set it up, I actually check this box to include it in the same reservation menu. Now, if I wanted it as a separate option on the main bar to show up, somewhere in reservation or after reservations in between lessons, all I have to do is simply uncheck this, and it will show independently from the submenu. Okay. And then you can obviously change this name to find a player. We're calling it open reservations for clarity, but that can be changed to anything that you want to show in your navigation menu. So that section is probably going to be your most important section as far as setup. And so I will, if you guys have any questions on that, please denote them and then, or put them in the Q&A, and I will come back to this at the end of the webinar. Okay. Next, let's move into some things new things that we've done to enhance this whole experience. So the first thing we did is we created this concept of match type. Okay. So we wanted to make it so that it was easy for players to know what they were going to get out of signing up for this match. So we introduced a concept called match types. Now, match types is completely optional. You do not have to enable it. You can completely hide it. If you think it's going to create confusion or you don't want to use it, feel free to just keep it disabled. We also give you the ability to require it. So if you want every single person that's creating an open match to specify if this is a practice match or if this is a rotational for pickleballers, or if you just want to drill with someone, then you can enable this and maybe not require it so it can be optional. These 5 match types is just something that I came up, that the product team came up with as sort of some default selections for you to use. Now, these are completely optional. You can completely rename them, you can delete them, and you can add your own if you want to. So you'll again see this because this is going to be displayed both on the scheduler and then in the list. And this is also going to be a filter option that you can later use to filter specific matches for. Okay. And you can also sort these. So if you want them to show up in a different sort order, you'll be able to do that as well. Next, the third part of this setup is we introduced a sport type. And the reason that we did this is we have so many organizations coming on that are a hybrid tennis pickleball facility or organization. You know, everybody knows we have a lot of pickleball folks in the audience today, but we have a lot of tennis clubs that are adopting pickleball at their facilities and organizations. And we wanted to make it very clear for the tennis and pickleball folks that when they create a match, they can actually create what type of match that this is. And the reason we did this is because we didn't want you to have to create separate reservation types, because a lot of our organizations have singles and have doubles that apply to both tennis and pickleball, because those both still apply in those respective sports. But what we didn't do is, if we didn't create this sport type, then you wouldn't be able to differentiate that when creating the match criteria. So again, you may have bocce, you may have badminton. We just wanted this to be very configurable, so you can create as many different sport types as you want. You can remove the ones you don't want. We did default these options to be tennis and pickleball, and you can completely enable or disable this feature as you see fit. So if you're just a tennis facility, you don't need this. So when you come in here the first time, this will default to be disabled, and then you can create and add and set this up that matches the needs of your facility. Okay. And lastly, and then we're finished with the setup piece. And we really did try to make this as simplistic of a setup as possible. We didn't want to, we know that CourtReserve has a bunch of different areas that can feel complex, and we really tried to make this feel very organized and make it very intuitive on the setup side. So we hope you're feeling that right now. So hopefully, none of this is confusing or overwhelming for you guys. So this is the only part of player matchmaking really that gets down to the membership level. So these are some specific settings and criteria that will allow you to control who can do what around open reservations. Okay. So the first thing obviously is, can this even be done by this membership? So like some of you guys may have a non-member concept at your facility. So if you don't want non-members coming in and booking your courts for open reservations, you can simply cut that off, and the option will not exist for that membership type. Okay. And then you also, I'm going to jump this one and come back to it. If you do uncheck the create, we did allow you to still allow members of this membership type to join. So that may be a good option for some of you. If you want to fill up your courts, you want to attract new people into your facility, this is a good way to do it. So you can actually, let them not create them, but obviously join them if they meet the criteria. So that's how you would set that up in that instance. The second option here is really a way to feed off this one. So this one is at the global level. So this is across the board, across all players. This one here is going to get down to the individual level. Now, let me be clear. Your booking rules still apply. And what I mean by that is, if you guys have a restriction, as most of you all do, 3 courts per week, 1 court per day, those will still apply. So if somebody has exceeded all of their booked reservations, they can't simply come in and create a new open reservation. Okay. But this will also allow you to say, we only want to create, if I change this to 1, for example, this will prevent members from creating 1 open reservation, even though they may have the ability to be in more than 1 confirmed or booked reservation. I hope that's clear. If there's any questions on that, please put them in the Q&A and I'll address them when we come back to that at the end of the webinar. Okay. And then 2, I meant to get these the text of these settings changed while we were in QA and hasn't been done yet. These are going to change a little bit on the verbiage, but not functionality. But let me try to explain what these are doing so that it makes sense. So you have two options on controlling how long you want to let players maintain an open reservation before the system will cancel. So the first option is to say, cancel the open reservation X hours before it's supposed to start if it's not finalized, okay? And that's why I don't like the word is not filled up. Really, finalization in an open reservation is when the minimum and maximum players are met, or when the actual reservation owner says, yep, I got enough players, and they manually finalize the reservation. And you'll see that in a minute. But this is going to control. So if I set this to 8 hours, this is basically going to say, you got 8 hours before your reservation start time to finalize and find players. Otherwise, the system's going to remove it from the court sheet. Everybody that is already in that reservation that's not finalized will get notified, and you'll just have to find another time slot. Okay. Also, the system will not let you automatically go into this window either. So I won't be able to create an open reservation 4 hours before it's supposed to start, because this setting is set to 8. So it handles both sides. It will prevent you from creating one that would put you in this instance, and it will also cancel any once they get out of that 8-hour window. Okay. Now, the other option on the reverse side of that, and these work in tandem, but if you want to basically say you get X number of hours after you create the open reservation, you can do that as well. So if you set this to 1, which is, you probably want to set this number lower than that previous setting, then that means once you timestamp and create this open reservation, you get this many hours to fill it before the system will cancel it. So it doesn't look at when the reservation is supposed to start. It looks at when the reservation gets created. Okay. Awesome. So that is the entire setup of player matchmaking. Okay. Now, when we release this on the 19th, we are going to put a beta label on it. Okay. All of the people, what we're going to do is we're going to announce it. We're going to release it. We want your feedback. There's going to be things in here that you as business owners and club managers and tennis directors and pickleball club directors, you're probably going to see things that maybe can make this feature just go to another level. So we're going to be enhancing things and changing things very quickly as we iterate over this feature. So please, that every bell and whistle may not be there, but we want your feedback. So I just wanted to, put that disclaimer out there before we continue. So now let's show you what this looks like based on this setup. Okay. So the first thing that I want to do is show you what the creation of a player match would look like in an open state. So if I just go out here to my member portal, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to nothing changes around where you create an open match. Okay. It's all going to change during that creation process. So, but to start it off, you would simply go to where your players were normally going. So if I was to go into the pickleball scheduler, you're going to see the scheduler and all of this is in the app, in the new app, and it all works the same. Okay. I'm not going to show the app today, but the experience is exactly the same. Okay. So let's say I'm going to go ahead and book, I'm just going to choose here, 4 o'clock. Well, simply, let's say I want to do some drilling. I want to practice my serves with, or serves is a bad example because you usually do that by yourself. I just want to hit. I'm a tennis player and I just want to hit with another player. So I'm going to do just like I would. You notice I'm going to come back to this. So this is because the pricing is what I really want to hone in on in a second so that you guys understand how the pricing has changed. Well, I shouldn't say change, but how when we actually assess the fee changes with open reservations. Okay. Because we wanted to really make it easy on you and easy on the players, not having to deal with refunding. But I'll come back to that in just a second. So all of this part, none of this part has changed. Okay. Player matchmaking completely works with guests if you want to allow it. I mean, there's no option to turn off guests. as far as the player matchmaking setup. So if this reservation type allows guests, then guests can be part of the match as well. Okay. The key thing is this right here. So here at the bottom, you're going to see is open reservation. So if you have this feature enabled and you have this feature enabled for this reservation type, then this box is going to appear. So when you check this box, it opens up all the criteria that you as an administrator have set up and allowed. Okay. So if you've disabled anything or not allowed gender restriction or anything that I talked about on that previous setup screen, you're not going to see that. The player would not see that here. Okay. So everything I'm showing here, you've already set up. Okay. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to pretend like I'm one of those hybrid clubs and I have both tennis and pickleball. So the first thing I want you to do is, hey, what sport are you playing? Right. So I want to play some tennis. I want to just drill with somebody. Match type. This is where I'm going to say, you know, I'm going to just do some drilling, right? The gender restriction. So this is, I turned this on, remember, in the settings. And this has to be answered. We wanted, if you turned that on, we wanted the organization or the player that is creating this to explicitly specify their gender role. Okay. Because if we would have made this optional or defaulted, it could have been easily skipped over without somebody really paying attention or even knowing they set something. So here you have to specify. So if you don't care who it is, and it can be mixed, you can create no gender restrictions. I use the word mixed, but I mean, if it's truly open and you don't care male or female, you say no gender. Mixed is really only applicable if you want an equal number of men and women. So if you want 2 men and 2 women, you pick mixed, and that will force an equal distribution of players based on gender in that open reservation. Okay. And then obviously, if I want to drill with a male, I would choose the M and then the F for the female. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to say no gender restrictions. So the next option is now you say, what kind of level do I want these people to be that accept this match? So here is where I would select the level. So for this level, I'm going to say, hey, I'm a 4-0. I only want to hit with 4-0s. So now when I do this, only the people in your system that have a rating of 4-0 is going to be able to join this match. Okay. Men players, max players. This is a way for the booking, the reservation owner, I should say, to specify the min and max. Now, let me be clear here. This doesn't oversee or override your settings. So as you can see here, in my organization, in my demo account, I have 4 singles, a min of 2, a max of 2. A player cannot adjust that. Okay. It's disabled. As you can see, I can't change this. Disabled because you've hard coded it. But for those of you that are doing pickleball, you got to be very careful of setting a max for pickleball to 4, because what we try to do, even in my group that I play with here in Florida, we a lot of times do rotationals of 5. So if you want to allow that, then you want to make sure for that reservation type, you allow on your side a max of 5 or turn max off or go to the max so that people can actually get more than 4 or 5. Okay. So if I had to set the 5 on the back end, then this would be optional and I could either set it at 4 or go up to 5. Okay. And then this is where I get to type, looking for someone to just hit for an hour. Okay. So this is new, right? So this is going to give just the ability for that player to add a little more context to all the other players searching for matches to tell them, this is what I'm looking for. Okay. Private match. This is what you're going to click on if you want the match to be private to a specific group of people. And then this is obviously where I would enter that code that others would have to enter to be able to join the match. For demo purposes, I'm going to cut that off. Okay. So now I just simply save. Open reservation confirmed. Now let's dive into how this is different and how this looks different with open matches. So we really enhanced this because we wanted to give users the ability on the court sheet and on the booking scheduler to say, whoa, 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 this is awesome. This match is open. So this is going to show the open, if it's open over here on the right, and it's also going to show a minimum maximum players. Now, if this would have been a minimum of 4, maximum of 5, it would have said 4 to 5 players or 4-5. The star on the left will depict if it's my reservation. And now this is going to be something, we added this across the board, but it's a good way now that we have open reservations and we're going to see all those open reservations. If you're on the court for this reservation, or you own this reservation, you will see a star now, or the user or the player would see a star if they're on the court. Okay. Now, what I want to do too is now show you, let me jump over. So I have booked this open reservation. I can click details if I want to see it, and it's just going to go back to me, and it's going to show all of the criteria that I entered. So you can see that this is a tennis match. It's just for singles, reservation type, and it's for drilling. People will be able to see. Let me jump over, actually. I'm going to jump over to another player so you can sort of see it from the side of that. I don't own this reservation. So you can see now I'm logged in as a different player. I don't see the star, right? So now I can actually click the details, and I see a join group option. So I can come in here and I can see, oh, Tim is organizing this. I have this expires in 3 hours and 28 minutes. Based on the rules that you set up previously, this is going to show you, hey, this match is, it's expiring in 3 hours and 28 minutes. So it's just sort of a way to, you can see how long that open reservation has before it's going to be automatically expired by the system. You can see if there's any restrictions, and then you can also see what that description is if you so desire. Okay. Now, the other way you can see these open reservations beside the scheduler is click the open reservations option. So think of the way we do events, right? Where we show, this is modeled the exact same way, but now it's for open reservations. I think this is super cool. So now, this list will completely fill up based on, by default, matches that I'm eligible for and matches that I own. So automatically you can see that I can join this group, but wait a minute. I'm saying to myself, let's pretend for a minute, I'm just a 3-0 player, right? Well, if I still see join group, look what we did. So I'm logged in as Ashley, right? Well, Ashley, based on rating and or any other criteria, is ineligible. But look what's going on here. I have a family, right? A lot of you guys have families. A lot of the players that book on behalf of their spouse or their children. So now you can see the only player or only family member eligible for this specific match is Will. Okay. So basically, if I go ahead and sign up Will and save, it will put Will in the group and take that reservation off. So what happened here is this match was singles, and this match only needed a max of 2 players. So what the system will do is anytime the min and max are met, it will systematically finalize the match. And now it's just like any other reservation on your court sheet. Okay. So if I go over here to look at the indoors, you can see that this match already has 2 people. I click on it and boom, the fees are automatically created at the time of finalization. So now both Tim and Will have their $22 court fee that would be the same as if the way it works now. So this goes back to what I said around fees. So everybody's clear. No fee generation occurs when a match is open. You can imagine the problem that would have caused if we were putting fees onto all of these matches that you would have to go in and refund if they didn't meet the criteria or if they didn't fill up. So we decided, and I'd love to get your feedback, we decided not to impose any fees until the finalization of the match occurred. Okay, so let me go back here because I want to show you also what ineligibility looks like. So if I go back over to Tim and I go back to pickleball, you can see this is I'm going to just fire up another open reservation, but this time I'm going to make it 3-5 so that basically everybody in that family is ineligible. Okay, so if I go here now and I select tennis, let me just fill this out, go back down to drilling, and I'm going to say no gender restrictions, but I'm going to say 3-5. Okay, so this is sort of the same thing I did. I'll just put something here and save. Okay, now if I go back over now to these open reservations, I still don't see it, right? Here's why. I'm showing eligible. But if I uncheck this and uncheck my open, because right now the filter is showing mine eligible, now I'm going to see the open reservation, but I can't do anything with it because now nobody in my family qualifies for this match. So it's important to remember that all of these filters are going to default for improved player experience to only show them matches they qualify for. There's no use showing them matches they don't. Now, for whatever reason, if people just want to see what's going on or what other matches are being created, they can uncheck these at any time and show everything. But by default, we're not. And I didn't mention this before, and I didn't really show this, but there's also all of these filtering options. So if you're just interested in one of the two sports, so if I just wanted to see tennis, obviously that would still be shown. If I click pickleball, nothing, right? So this is a way to filter. You can also filter by match type. You can also filter for a particular rating category. So obviously that disappears if I hit 3-0, but if I choose 3-5, boom. Same sort of filtering that we have for events, but we sort of just made it very specific to the open matches. Okay. So one other thing I want to show you before I start talking about some of the things on the admin side is we also gave you the ability to leave a group. Okay. So if I was to go in here and create one more, and this time let's make it doubles so we can not finalize when somebody joins. And I'm going to make it an open reservation. Let's say pickleball this time. We're going to say we're going to rotate. No gender restrictions, no rating restrictions. Okay. So you can see now I have a max 4, but I can't go above 5. So I set it up for my doubles reservation type. I set it up the exact same way as I explained earlier, because a lot of people with pickleball now, but this doesn't work with tennis. You usually don't get 5 people on a court for tennis, but you see what I mean for pickleball. So now if I save this, now when I flip back over to my other player, and let's go here to eligible matches only. Okay. So now I see this group because it's a doubles group, right? So now I can join the group and everybody's eligible. So I'm going to go ahead and put Ashley in here and save it. Okay. So now I'm in the group. So it shows Tim, it shows Ashley, it shows all the criteria. It shows 2 of 5 spots filled. So that's another thing I needed to point out. We will always show you how many players needed. So, and you can we're actually going to add a sort feature here to say, hey, show me the ones that just need 1 player, or show me the ones that just need 2 players. So people can sort of help groups that are close to finalize. But what I wanted to show you here is something that we did that we don't do, that we're getting ready to put out early August, is the ability for you as the non-reservation owner to pull yourself out. Okay. So a lot of times you can't really, that's shut down and you can't pull yourself out of finalized reservations. But for an open match, you can leave the group at any time if it's not finalized. So if I simply go in here and say, hey, I got to leave, man, I'm not feeling well, then I can simply pull out. And now that matches back to 1 of 5 spots filled. Okay. Awesome. Moving right along. I need to speed up. I told the team this would take 20 minutes. So I'm trying to slow down, make sure I'm covering everything. So hopefully you guys are asking some good questions, and we're going to get there in a minute. So now I just want to, that's the player side. I hope that's a good demonstration of what you're going to be able to expect and what your players are going to be able to experience. The one thing that I'm not showing in this demo is the finalize process. The only thing that changes with that is, as an owner, once I have the minimum number of players required registered, but I don't have the maximum, this button as the owner says finalize group, or I think it just says finalize. It's a different color. I think it's orange. And you can just click it, and that does a forced finalization. So if you're trying to find, you open it up to 5, but you only have 4, and you don't want it to expire, or the player don't want it to expire, they can force their finalization at any time as long as the min number of players have been met. Okay. So let's jump over now and talk about some of the things on the administrative side and show you some of the things that we're logging in the audit log, showing you what it's going to look like on the admin scheduler, and show you some of the notifications that we've created. Okay. And then that's where we'll come to a close. So as you can see, what we did on the administrative side is we wanted to give you admins the ability to see open matches very clearly, right? So as you can see, you can look at this and you can quickly see which matches are open because we tell you, and we can also tell you how many players this match is needed. So this is good. We don't allow administrators. We're trying to leave it up to the players. So we're trying to, like, being able to change the time in courts. We would encourage you not to do that as super admins. You can do anything you want, but just be mindful of that, because these people have a set time and they got people coming. So if you go and start moving courts is one thing, especially if they're the same court type, but if you start changing the times, that could be impactful. So that's just a hint to you when you turn on this feature to be careful of that. The other thing that we did is, if you do want to see, we added an open reservations only filter. So if you do just want to filter off everything but your open reservations to get a quick glance, you certainly can do that by using the filter here. Okay. Now, as you can see, this one was open, but you can see what happened, right? You can see once those max players were reached, it turned it into a normal reservation as this person would make it today. Fees are there. They owe money. They got emailed. Go pay your price. Here's the thing. For you that do upfront payments, okay, which a lot of you do, upfront payments do not apply until finalization occurs. And it really still doesn't apply because there was no way to do an upfront payment and an open reservation at the same time. So keep in mind, for those that want your money up front, if somebody creates it open, they're still going to be responsible for logging in and paying once the finalization occurs. Now, we notify them and we give them that in the email, but you'll have to set your own boundary around that and just have to handle that scenario if you're one of those organizations that like to get paid at the time of booking. Okay. I'm sure there'll be a question or two come in on that. I already see quite a few in there, and I'm almost done, guys. Almost done. So the other thing that I wanted to show you is we do audit open matches. So you can see here, it shows you when somebody withdraws themselves. And then also what it's going to do is, when you see a reservation that was created in the audit log that was an open reservation, you will have beside the reservation type, you will see the word open in parentheses. And then you'll also see all the rules that person created when creating that match. Okay. And finally, let's talk about what the notification path looks like. Okay. So basically, when players join someone's reservation, right, we want to notify that the owner has players coming in. So basically, we give a nice little email to the player that creates the reservation. We call it Open Reservation Join Notice. Here's the subject. So we basically say, hey, we got new people joining your group. We don't inundate you as administrators with these emails. Okay. The only email that you're going to get, the only notification or the only text alert that you would receive is upon finalization. So to you as administrators, you're not going to get an email until that reservation is confirmed, because we already sent enough emails out of Court Reserve and we didn't want to inundate you with more. Okay. So as you can see, it's going to tell the owner who joined and for what day and time. That way, if they have more than one, they can see, oh, Ashley joined my hitting session for Friday. Awesome. Okay. A couple other ones we added is if somebody leaves. So remember Ashley left earlier. One thing we probably need to do here is put the reason. So I just saw that. So I'll get that added. But this tells people when people in their group left. So now the guy's like, oh, Tim's like, oh, am I gonna have to find another player? Ashley left. We'll put the reason in here just like we do the other confirmations so they can see why. Okay. Let's see what else. I know we got a couple more.
We have several questions too. So just want to make sure we have time for those.
Okay. I will let you guys, I'm going to stop there because I want to answer all your questions and I don't want to run out of time because I really wanted to keep this under an hour. So Ashley, why don't you go ahead and start firing away at me.
So can we use both the cancel reservation function at the same time? Like for instance, cancel if it's not filled up in 2 hours or a 24-hour prior to start?
Absolutely. I should have been more clear on that, but those are in tandem settings. So you can use them in combination with each other. Absolutely 100%.
So the next question is around creating private matches. Are you restricted to using numbers or can you use letters or can you use a combination?
Right now it is numbers, but that can easily be changed based on feedback.
Okay. If players don't have designated ratings, how can they be ineligible or how would they be?
They would automatically be ineligible if they do not have a rating.
So in turn, you do have to use the ratings that you create in the system in order to make this work.
Correct. So great question. So let's say you have a player, let's say you're using ratings within CourtReserve, right? Whether it's pickleball or tennis, and somebody creates a match for 3-0 players. Even though a player in your database may be a 3-0, if they don't have in their player profile a 3-0 rating specified, they're automatically kicked out.
Okay. There's a question about how players can create private groups.
Future iteration. So
okay.
What we're doing, I wanted it in this one as a product guy. I wanted a buddy list. Not only a buddy list, I wanted an exclusion list. We're going to be doing both. So in phase 2 of this, people are going to be able to create their own friends list, and they're going to also be able to create who can't join their matches. Now that's obviously going to be turned on by you because not all organizations are going to want to be that strict, but we're also going to be adding internal group communication. So inside your group, you're going to be able to text back and forth inside the CourtReserve app within a specific group.
Awesome. The next question is, let's see, understanding correctly, a player cannot play down in their skill rating. The rating restriction needs to be matched precisely, correct?
Yes, and it's a range, right? So when I go in and create a match, and maybe that wasn't clear on the demo, I can quickly show you. So when I go in and create that match, and I'm setting criteria, right? Let's see here. Let me go do another one here. That's in the past. Let me do another one real quick, because I know we got more questions to go. Right here. So here, nope, that's gender. So here, this is not, this is more than one. So if I wanted a range, I'm not clicking a min low range. That's something that we may also add, especially when we start bringing in the external rating systems in pickleball and tennis. We may do a high end, low end, but right now you pick based on your predefined values, every rating category every rating value that's eligible to join this match. I hope that's more clear there.
Okay. Can an admin create an open reservation with no names?
Great question. Administrators cannot do any creation of open matches. This is player driven only. Admins can change courts. They can change dates and times. Again, forewarn you with that. And they can add players if somebody calls in looking for a match. Admins can look. If that player meets that criteria, they can add them just as they would add anybody else in a normal reservation.
So here's a scenario. I have set up a matchmaking event. It partially fills, but then I need to withdraw. What happens?
You as the owner needs to withdraw it, or you as a player needs to come out of that?
You as the owner, you cannot.
It cancels the match.
Cancels the match. Okay.
It cancels the match.
Okay. When payments are required up front and the open reservation is finalized at some random time later, do people still have only 15 minutes to pay, or what is their amount of time to go in and then pay?
That is a fantastic question, and one that the product team heavily debated. Right now, for complexity purposes, and that's why I really highlighted this, it's almost like you don't have upfront payments turned on when you finalize open reservation. So guys, please keep that in mind. We are going to look and try to come up with a solution. Love to garner your ideas around that. But right now, there is no time limit for that finalization. So it'll just be up to your players to either log in and pay when they get that finalization confirmation, or you to collect payment when they walk in the door.
Okay. If all of the spots are not filled, say the minimum's 4 and the max is 6, is the match confirmed if we have the minimum of 4?
That's I wish I would have shown that. I just didn't have time to set it up. So in that scenario, great question. In that scenario, it goes back to the owner has the option at any point to finalize the match at any time once the minimum is met. So what happens is the systematic finalization only fires when the min and max is met. So in that scenario where you have 4, but you're opening it up to 6, the only way that match gets finalized before you get to 6 is if the reservation comes in and clicks the finalize button.
Okay. Let's see. So if the group is finalized and then someone gets sick, but you found a replacement, do you as the player who originated the reservation have the power to change who is in the reservation?
Oh man, that's a good question. And you know what? I would need to review that scenario. I don't want to take a guess at that. That's part of our big feature, guys. I'm sort of letting you in for those on the call. In another 3 weeks or early August, we're releasing a setting to allow people to sub themselves out for reservation owners to withdraw and designate a new owner, and then be able to cancel. So it may be in tandem with that. I need to check with the product team and development team, and we will get back with you. Just to note who asked that question, Ashley, and we can respond back to them.
Okay. Let's see. The finalization email, does it provide all the player names?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And then another statement, really, you need to encourage your players to rate themselves. Otherwise, they would be ineligible to do player matchmaker. So yes, for sure.
That's right. That's right. That's going to be on the organization to, when they promote, they need to communicate, hey, we got a new feature with CourtReserve. We're going to allow you to do this. We're going to turn on rating. So make sure that you update your profile to your specific rating. Now, here's the thing that we don't do, right? So there's a way to sort of game the system that you guys need to be aware of, right? So if you got some people that are trying to play up in higher groups and you allow people to change their rating, guess what could happen, right? Oh, I'm not eligible for this 4 or 5 pickleball group. I'm going to just up my rating to 4 or 5 so I can get in, and then I'll change it back. So just be mindful that if you have that option turned on, it could possibly be a scenario if that group is not under a PIN code.
There was a question in here about sending maybe a video to all members on how to use Player Matchmaker and encourage them to rate themselves. We don't currently have that. It might be something that our CourtReserve team can do, but I would encourage you to use the global announcements feature. The ratings in your clubs and organizations is just a great way for reporting and to put players into groups. And so I would start off with asking players in the global notification to maybe go in and rate themselves. And we'll see about making some more educational information for your players in the future. Here's the next question, Tim. So can admins, I think we've already answered this, set up a beat the pro match so players can add themselves if they want to play with the pro?
I would just do that as an event.
Okay, that's a great feedback. We don't allow splitting of court fees. Is there a way to allow splitting court fees for open reservations?
No, the reservation cost, all that still applies based on if this reservation was a normal reservation. So any costing that you do, it's going to allocate cost just on those settings that you already have based on the number of players that are in that reservation.
And so just making sure, we had a question, can a closed reservation be open, or can it be reopened if someone has to leave? The originating player, they cannot go back in. Okay.
No, not at this time. Once that reservation is finalized, I want to be very clear, it becomes a normal reservation as CourtReserve exists today. And there's no reverting that back out as of right now. Now that's, again, this is the type of feedback we're asking for, right? So we're gonna digest this, get it in front of the product team, and try to make this better and better, right? So this is just our first release. It's in beta. So thank you for all of this feedback.
Can the finalization email be customized?
It better be, but that's something I don't know the answer to. Again, we will find out, and we will add these emails. If they're not right now, I will definitely get the product team to make sure that they are included when in the section where you can adjust emails.
Okay. Is there a waitlist feature to get in the match?
No, at this time. Something else that didn't make the cut for phase one.
Okay. And our last question today, how would you recommend, or is there a way handling this scenario when someone is open to either singles or doubles, but singles in the system is set to a min or max of 2 and doubles is set to a min or max or 4? It seems like there's no way to handle this other than maybe having some reservation types specific to open reservations.
That's correct. That is the only way. So if they're looking for singles or doubles, right, they would just use the filter, unless I'm misunderstanding the question. So if they come in here and they're interested in singles or doubles, you know what? I love these webinars. We need to put reservation type here. Because if we had reservation type here, all the reservation types, we could have singles and doubles, and they could just click those 2 reservation types. And just like we have here, we just need to add that filter. So great feedback, great question. I'll get that added. So then that person can just come in here and pick of all the reservation types that are allowed for open matches. They could check just both singles and doubles, and then they could basically see all the ones that are singles. And so it's like, here's the singles, here's the doubles. They just choose which one they want to play.
All right. Well, that's all of our questions for today. We appreciate all of your feedback, and we're going to continue to make this better. Don't forget that we will add this to the CourtReserve YouTube channel sometime early next week. And if you think about this over the weekend and you have additional feedback you'd like to give the team, please leave this at support@courtreserve.com or reach out and give it to the live chat support team. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and thanks for joining us.